Hello, everyone. Hello, Callum. umbraCoffee episode 290.
Oh my goodness, so close, so close.
10 to
episodes,
300.
and we need to hit 1,000 subscribers by 300.
So let's start from it today. People, like, subscribe, check if your button is gray next to this place where you're watching us right now. If it's not gray, make it gray and make us happier.
Check your colleagues' computers, make sure they're subscribed. Your wife.
That might be a new Easter egg in the office games, instead of just changing wallpapers, just make them subscribe to umbraCoffee.
Yeah.
That would be funny. How are you, Callum? How is your week?
I'm good. It's been a shorter week in the UK. We had a public holiday on Monday, and we've it's been exciting. I don't know about good exciting, but there's a lot happening. So yeah. What about you?
Yeah. Same here. I will have a shorter week because I need to run straight after umbraCoffee to pick up my daughter from a new kindergarten and school, because it's the start of the school year in Poland now in September. I know that there is a lot of countries starting earlier. So yeah, this is starting for me today. So I will have more logistics around life since now. Exciting. I would say the same. It is exciting, but I don't know if it's a positive excitement that I'm having now. So we will find out. But it was a really packed, busy, and fast week, I would say. But it's supposed to be like that. So, and I did enjoy almost meeting last Monday, which was really exciting.
So here's the thing. I ended up doing work on Monday. I mean, a bit more relaxed work. Like I think we went out for a walk, and I think I went to the pub and stuff. But I enjoyed doing work because there's no one around. There's no one asking me things. It's perfect. So I quite like that. It's the same reason I like working in the evening.
Yeah, me too. So maybe then let's jump to some topics to discuss today, and maybe that might be a good segue in discussion. Should we then turn into the Australian time zone? Maybe then. Because that might be an option. And maybe in this case we can align to some new possibilities created by Umbraco Cloud and its operational new region in Australia. That's huge. I do remember initial discussions about it, because we thought, oh yeah, there will be possibilities to create new regions, and of course Umbraco Cloud will be more accessible around the globe. And Australia was placed on the roadmap as one of the first ones, and now it's here.
It's been a big thing because Australia's got some very strict data protection rules, so you need data residency. It's also so far from like Europe. So if you think about the latency you get just from serving traffic over that, I know they've got Cloudflare and things in front of it, but it's still not ideal. So it's a fantastic thing to have something a bit more local. I was going to say as well, this is now the fourth cloud region we've got.
Yes.
So we've got the original West Europe or West Europe, Netherlands based region. We've got the US region, which was the first one to come online. We've now got a UK region, and we've got an Australia region. That means, they're covering at least all the key markets. But most importantly, they've rolled out a new data center every nearly 6 months now. So I wonder what's next. This came about because, yes, there's been demand from the community, but also, by all accounts, because Luminary, also an our platinum partner, basically put up the financial commitment to say, we will host enough sites in this region for you to financially justify having that region.
I can't remember where was the discussion with Emmanuel. Was it on Slack somewhere, or someone basically asked what were the efforts, right, and how they helped, and in general it was that simple. We have clients who want to, first of all, benefit from the better protection of the data privacy requirements and stuff. Plus, again, 70% of performance improvement is a lot in the latency and the response time. So it is a huge advantage, and in the same opportunity for generating more business out of there, right? Because right now it will have a lot of more arguments towards using this as a selling point.
It was a conversation I've had with a few clients of ours and with other partners as well, people who are based in Australia, and saying, like, where is the right place to host an Umbraco website? We would always go with Azure, but cloud has never been a viable option, not even a question, not even viable. So yeah, Philip asking what region should this is an interesting one. I've got a lot of views on this. I think a second US region, US West, US East, is a big thing, because US West helps cover a lot of the Pacific and also Asia. Asia's an interesting one. We've been asked maybe every couple of months about hosting in Asia and like China specifically. I'm not sure Umbraco gets into Chinese hosting. It's a very big market that's quite difficult. I don't know how big Umbraco's user base is. There's a growing community in South America, so maybe South America is a logical place. Don't know if the demand's there. I personally, I'd say a US West and East, and what I would really love is to see geo-load balancing as well. So you can have region pairs and it will handle.
Yeah, I was going to say that probably pairing regions would be the really interesting one to see, because right now, for example, for some of the solutions we are usually choosing like UK South, UK West, and this is balancing between two. This is the reduction of the risk. But right now with the edge caching, the Cloudflare possibilities and stuff like that, it's kind of less and less important, but the latency and the redundancy like this could help. And maybe the US region, as you mentioned, but it should be driven by demand. And it looks like the process of adding new regions is mastered already, so it shouldn't take that much effort and less efforts with every new one.
And actually, from a demand point of view now, clearly mastered too. So if you need a region, you basically need to stump up enough money to make it worth Umbraco's while. So
business case out of it, and
exactly, you need to make a business case for them, and they'll do it. It's funny that Chad's mentioning So I was going to say this. It literally the day after the Umbraco Cloud region went online, Australia East Azure region went offline for a while. I'm assuming it's because Luminary are moving so many Umbraco. The reality was it was a power failure at in that region, and it caused quite a lot of issues with other Australian regions too that seemingly were dependent on Australia East. But it does raise a fantastic point that Australia as a country, the power network's not that reliable, and I don't believe track record for the Australian Azure data centers is all that good either. So I'm keen to see how Umbraco handles that. Of course, they've got Cloudflare and stuff in there, but it might cause a few headaches for them.
But I don't know if it's the age thing for me, but generally when anything like that happens, I just grab a coffee, smile to myself, and analyze the case. This kind of outages, and then, as you've mentioned, like power dependency, make us all human, and at the same time, it's like even something like this can happen. So we should be fine when it comes to the issues that we experience on a daily basis. And it's interesting to see this transition. Of course, we can rely on we can have a very heavily business operational solution and stuff like that, which would affect us. But then we should have some kind of redundancy elsewhere. But it happens. As I said,
I think to be fair, baking resiliency into Umbraco Cloud would be so cool from lots of perspectives. I mean, it does get complicated, but just being able to say automatic failover or geo distribution, which you can do through Cloudflare fairly easily and through Azure as well, through like front door. But in this case, where a region might be slightly unreliable or susceptible to other risks, like it would be fine, I think, to fall back to a West US region in Australia, or even like a South Asia. I think Hong Kong or Singapore is where another big Azure data center is. They could go with one of them. I think it would be fine. Doesn't get around the data residency thing, which is a whole other challenge.
But at the same time, as we discussed it as a business case, we were discussing it also how small amount of pages are in need of this kind of redundancy, this kind of failover scenarios. And it might be some of them, of course, but it's not majority of them. Hence, if we'll require more of this demand, so we will need more of these functionalities, I'm sure the team will react and bring them there, because there are some really neat needs of some of the solutions that we need to maintain, and they are coming there. So that's really cool to see this expansion and maybe more Cloudflare edge possibilities too.
I'm going to throw another one out there, which is an interesting possibility, and probably is not possible for Umbraco. But would we ever see regional hosting that is not on Azure?
Multi-cloud solution.
Because people go, oh, why would you want to do that? A lot of the arguments people make for it are ridiculous. If Azure goes bankrupt or Azure goes down, I want to fall into it. Yes, come on, let's be realistic. But sometimes people are running other large applications, other large business applications in the same data centers, and having a service provider host in a specific region, in the same region, is really helpful, because you get some benefits of like inter data center, lower latency. You get even just everything being in one region, meaning your availability is all the same. It's an interesting idea. Could we see an AWS Umbraco Cloud region at some point? I think it's too heavily wedded to Azure Web Apps in reality. Currently.
Yeah, but at the same time, cloud is the closest to enable this kind of functionalities. Let's say, imagine Terraform's infrastructure scripts and a UI from cloud that is hiding the complexity of deploying it to somewhere else. If you're not hosting it on one platform, or you're not coupled with just Microsoft, let's say, for example, that's possible, and that could be really fun to see it. Because I had some projects where, for example, Google GCP was required hosting, and I don't know anything about this platform, right? So
you use Google Cloud,
yeah.
But a lot of people in doing like big data stuff use BigQuery, which is Google's huge data analytic platform, and it's. You wouldn't really want to be querying that from like AWS Azure, really, if you wanted low latency. So I don't know. We're throwing ideas out here, probably making
some headaches inside of the people's minds. But yeah, let's think about it. And as Philip asked here, which region should be next? I think it's a really nice call to action for people who might suffer from not being able to run solutions in the locations that they want to. And now it's proven path towards enabling new regions. So please shoot out to Philip and team to make some work around the new regions. Some more ideas can be also thrown on this topic, and we can probably talk about it as well, Callum. So new RFC, a new topic around rich text editor, which is shortened to RTE for some of those who might not know, an idea of replacing macros. By blocks.
So macros have to go. They're using really old technology and rendering mechanisms under the hood. They've not kept up with the times of like modern Umbraco ways of working, which is that we can use any property editor to build our data. No, macros, they have to be these weird I think they're called attribute editors or something. They're not right. So this is a debate about, do we replace them with something modern? Now, I've got a bit of insight here because I've been in the conversations with the team about it, that people say, well, why do we even need them? Should we get rid of them completely? Now, the argument is you could be or should be using TinyMC plugins to do certain things. So where you want like an image and to be able to edit some alt text alongside it, that's great. It should be a TinyMC plugin, keep all the data in the RTE. Where it's slightly more complicated, I've seen great examples of people using it to create like call to action buttons, where they want to be able to drop that into an RTE, but then say, I'm going to add all of these additional properties to it so I can control the color of the button. I can control which Google Tag Manager events it fires off, and all these sorts of things. Starts to become too complex for a plugin and a lot of work to then create. So the question was, can we replace macros with something modern equivalent? And I think the idea is, I don't actually like the term blocks here. I think the key is it's an element. So replacing macros with a single one-dimensional element type, and those elements eventually will be based on the previous RFC, it's just closed, also stored in the database, so you could potentially reuse them, reference them across your site.
I was going to say that because I like macros. That will be another issue, because when I started doing first Umbraco websites, there were a thing to make a dynamic pieces of content within the more complicated content blobs in this case. And I do like the concept of placeholders within the content. And we had a lot of this debate, like, okay, what if I want to place an image and I want to control how these images are rendered in my whole application, like replace the, let's say, EMG tag to something like picture responsive, etc. Then I can change it in one place and it will affect the whole application. But in this new kind of more like headless driven ecosystems, content modeled stuff, etc., it's less relevant because we shouldn't think about presentation when we are doing content, etc. And then in this case, we can divide it into multiple introduction, image, and stuff like that. But it requires content modeling. So it's always tricky, and we cannot satisfy all of the people. And I like the idea of elements as an option, but definitely something what is unified way and one way to do it, instead of macros, then elements, then placeholders, then value converters, right?
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be. Have you? We've talked about WordPress recently, Marcin. I'm going to mention WordPress. Yes. WordPress has a model called shortcodes, which are these weird, like, square brackets, tag name, and then a bunch of custom properties, and you can define those in code. And that's a really nice way of building things you can drop into rich text. So I want a button that's just square brackets, my button, something. The problem is it's a bit devy. It's not editor friendly. So my view is, I think elements probably is overkill in most of the cases that we want, but we want to have some kind of UI, some kind of experience on top of it. And maybe elements is the Umbraco way of doing that. But I'd love to see some kind of shortcode plugin system actually in the RTE instead of all of this.
Yeah, I was doing it for one of the hacky solutions in the past, because I was placing placeholders. I named like a specific naming convention, and then it was replaced on the converter level by something else. But I do agree that that's an interesting point of view, that probably hidden complexity of this solution is the most important thing, instead of just how it will be organized behind the scenes, because the editor should just be able to put something what will change somewhere else. that's the use case.
I think the other issue we've got really right now with macros is the idea that macros have a view, and that blurs the lines a little bit. With people are used to views in their websites being like code. With code and logic. And in reality, the view is supposed to be something, in the case of a macro, very simple. It should be for a button or for an image with a caption plus some alt text plus a, I don't know, whatever, a link maybe. A few little things, which was the core team's argument that people should be using like tiny MCE plugins instead. But
again, whatever will be decoupled from how it is presented, I think will be best. And in this case, elements might be the way, because it will be already possible to be parsed to the delivery APIs, because all the other elements will be. So yeah, I think that's interesting, and it's not an easy concept, unfortunately, but it's needed, because I can't remember the name of the editor that I was playing around. I know that Netlify bought them and they use them inside of their platform, but they also have this kind of functionality that they recognize what are you dragging onto the editor, and then they're building this kind of relation behind it. So this is the simplified editor's experience, but the relation is somewhere behind the scenes. You don't need to care about it. And whatever will be the result of it definitely needs to be headless ready, because it needs to operate on the cloud. It needs to operate on hardcore. It needs to be there and shouldn't be related to building views and stuff. And one thing that I wanted to also mention, just reminded about it, because I found the solution back in the days in Umbraco when someone built everything through the macros, because it had a caching layer. So it had a views, and it was like a cached for a specific time frame, and it was done through one macro to rule them all. So yeah, if you have a lot of powers, then there is a lot of misuses of the functionalities that are just simple to do something like that, right? So yeah, interesting. I do really hope to see a lot of discussions here, and I don't know, but I probably will time box myself finally to be an active participant of RFC discussions, and just put it into my calendar to really share something, because I have some ideas, and I hope to see more of them coming.
Yeah, Paul Seal makes a great point in the chat about TinyMC plugins are not nice to build. They're really clunky. And also, we're then wedding ourselves even further to TinyMCE, where in reality, the data that's being stored is just HTML currently. So being able to extrapolate that away somewhere, I don't know.
Yeah. There's an option, same as Netlify did. Umbraco just need to buy TinyMC.
Well, we were going to talk about them again in a bit. They sponsored in a Brisbane meetup.
maybe some discussions are there and we don't know about it, right? So
they make quite a few other things. So yeah. I was going to throw a question out there as well, maybe more for the chat. We can move on from this topic. Do you think in your Umbraco solutions, where we're building like modular pages with blocks, and you've got maybe the block grid in there, and then maybe we'll have all of our macros as element types as well? Have we got too many element types now? Like, is it becoming one thing to rule it all again? Which is sort of why elements were introduced in the first place, to distinguish content from, well, routable content from like embedded things. But I've got a site right now that must have coming up to 200 different element types in it. Big site with a lot of flexibility, and it's starting to get. We've done some things to make sure it's organizable, but it's starting to get quite overwhelming. So
yeah, I do agree, but at the same time, I like the way that elements can be transferred between the ways of organizing elements. And in this case, it's just a tool, but still without the right convention and process or how we use it and where we place them, it's still a mess. So I think the most important challenge for us as a builders is like define the ways how we build with the elements. Because I like the concept of having just elements to do it, but it's still a huge room for a wrong usage or the mess created with using them in the multiple places, multiple ways and stuff like that. So
I've raised a few PRs recently that try and hide elements in places they shouldn't have been. Things like tree pickers, when you're, or an example is when you create a content blueprint through the settings section, it shows you every content type, which includes element types, and you would never create a blueprint for an element type only for content types, something ideally with a template. So yeah, hiding things like that can probably make the element experience a little bit nicer. But trying to add a new block to the block list right now with 200 element types in a tree is really not fun.
And that's where conventions can help, but they won't replace the way, the naming, the categorization, whatever, right? There's a lot of, I would love to see more editor-centric talks or examples of how people deal with more complex solutions like this, because if you have 200 element types, you definitely need to organize them somehow, right?
Indeed.
And let's discuss. Let's make this. Let's turn it into discussion. Yeah, let's turn it into discussions and people with opinions and share them. And we will definitely review the RFC and keep an eye on. And you are part of the team, so you will also hopefully remind us all about when the deadline and also what is the output of this discussion. Cool. What's next on our list? There are some announcements regarding the commerce platform too, with the new version. With some of the, of course, the elements that we already discussed, like storefront APIs and all the new documentation, including things like how to start and all concepts and stuff. And yeah, it's all here with the demo and everything is working now. I do remember that when I was trying to show it, it was down, then it was back. Then Matt joined you for a walkthrough with umbraCoffee.
And he explained why it was down when you.
Yes.
It was Terraform. He had never used it before and said, I'll just deploy. And of course, by Terraform, as we all do if we use Terraform.
Yeah. But that's exciting, and there's a lot of great links and information on what it contains and how to use it, and yeah, it's there to be used. So
awesome.
And next, TinyMC mentioned TinyMC and the Brisbane Umbraco Meetup. That was a really having a nice turnover at the end of the day, right?
It looks like a good number of people showed up, and just given this the first one in like 3 or 4 years, that's great. And of course, a reminder: if you're in Australia and you're attending the meetups, every time you attend one between now and April, you get entered into the draw to win a ticket to Road Garden 24. So there's more reasons than one to
maybe this motivation works for people to join there. But I forgot to mention one thing. Of course, the new updates of the packages were also this week, right?
Yeah, there's only a few incremental updates, some things to SEO Checker, some updates to some of the Umbraco packages. The HubSpot one, Clean Starter Kit had an update as well. I'm sure I missed something, but yeah, there was a few updates.
Yeah. So yeah, we will also keep an eye on this rebooted Umbraco Meetup and all the other ones that are possible to be tracked. The next one is Bristol Pub Social, which is happening on September 6th.
Yeah, coming Wednesday.
Yes, and it's in person and no agenda, no talks, just pure social and discussions with the people around there. The next is an online event for Umbraco package developers, and not only, but generally it will be introduced on how to expand the skills and how to build the packages and generally how to do a lot of crazy things for Umbraco on the Kerala Umbraco user group online event.
Looks really awesome, this one. They put all their recordings of their meetups on YouTube as well, so you can go and watch this if you can't join the Zoom live.
Indeed. 2 more meetups to discuss. One is the Odense Umbraco meetup hosted by Soren and with Niels going through the new back office and mounting your UI into the back office. So pretty nice topic, and it's happening 2 weeks from now, September 13th, in Odense. So if anyone is around. And last but not least, London Umbraco Meetup the day after, and async, imposter syndrome, and sustainability. And in this in-person meetup.
That's async joke.
Yeah. Yes, Jason is going to talk about async, all the things from your team, and 2 more talks, sustainable approach to the web by Thomas. And I like the topic of this talk. Why do I look like a designer? That's a negative perspective to imposter syndrome. I like it. So yeah, it's September 14th, London. Really nice option to join.
I'm away, unfortunately. I'm going to miss this, but it looks pretty good.
Yes. 3 more events to mention, as we usually do. So one is Umbraco UK Festival 2023. Any progress, anything to mention, Callum, from the organizers' perspective?
I wanted to announce all the speakers, or a big batch of speakers, just before umbraCoffee today. I had a busy morning, so it hasn't happened. But it will be going online today, and there'll be an email going out and stuff. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled. There's a really fantastic lineup shaping up. And of course, we have our call for speakers, which is closing in 11 hours and 58 minutes and some seconds. So submit your ideas. There's still some slots left. We really want to hear anything and everything. It doesn't have to be a fully fleshed out topic just now. Convince your colleagues to apply as well. Yeah.
I saw some tweets during the access. I saw some access during this week from people who were shaping the talk submissions. So yes. I'm sure you will have plenty to choose from. But yeah, it's the link to the call for speakers is also somewhere. I closed it on.
It'll be down below.
Yeah, it will be down below on the video. 2 more events. We've call for proposals already closed, but with the tickets on sales. So the Dutch Umbraco experience in Utrecht, September 28th. So pretty soon. Agenda is published. Tickets are on sale. So if anyone is around there or interested to join, this amazing experience, definitely worth doing.
It's always a fantastic event every year. So I recommend it.
I do agree. And the next one is Umbraco the US Summit, which has a lot more information already published on the website with another bunch of speakers announced. So yeah, it's getting more details and more information. Not all of the topics are yet
they are for the community
discovered.
day. They aren't for the business summit.
Yes,
So
exactly.
the community day is fleshed out. The business summit is yet to be fleshed out.
Indeed. So yeah, that's another event for all the people interested in attending the event in the US. And a couple more things to mention. Nice demo of Blazor and WebAssembly from Laura. So yeah, it seems like a good approach. And with the working application shared, not this one, I had it opened before. Here, Callum, do you use Blazor? That was something that I
No,
wanted to ask you.
I'm a massive skeptic. I don't
know.
get it still. Don't understand it. But yeah, these are cool demos I've been seeing. I referred to this, in fact, this week as an example of how to do some stuff in like a JavaScripty way for a headless site. So it's a great.
Yeah, and everyone can take a look. And we've been mentioning the Blazor and demos a while ago, and now we have even more of them. So yeah, worth exploring. And I'm also the same skeptical as you do for the Blazor. I haven't touched it yet, and I'm scared to do so. So, but yeah, for everyone who is not that scared as I am, please take a look on this one. And then there's a nice blog post for another maybe scared people of looking on other CMSs, and especially the Voldemort one.
Yeah.
So Yaron here shared the mixed blog post, and I must say big kudos to Yaron for mixing all of these things really nicely. That's what I.
Sitecore's gone so far beyond being a CMS now. We need to have a CMS that we plug into.
Yes, and Umbraco is a perfect one, and it's open source, so and free, so we can probably combine it a lot with Sitecore X and cloud components. And Yaron wrote how to use the content delivery API with some headless and JSON output combined with some Sitecore cloud components and data sources. And again, in the world of composability and all of this amazing possibilities of combining data from various sources, I don't see a reasons why not Umbraco won't be the one of the sources of many of these kind of platforms, same as Netlify, as I mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah.
So I will see. We will definitely see more of it. To be fair, maybe not from the Sitecore world, because it's definitely the personality of Yaron here who glues it all together. But generally, Umbraco is becoming a nice source of the data and a nice puzzles when it comes to composable systems nowadays.
I was looking at some static web app type framework websites this week, Astro and Versal and a couple others. And Umbraco is not listed anywhere as an example of a CMS you can integrate with them, which is a real shame, a massive missed opportunity. So I'm hoping that changes. We're going to do a little bit of work to try and help out on that side with a couple of the products that we're interested in. But yeah, like it's a shame. It could have far greater reach, especially with 12 delivery API not being like it's not a self-hosted. Sorry, it's not a hosted paid SaaS offering. It's like it can be free or near free to host if you need it.
But at the same time, there is a hardcore SaaS offering which might be explored, and I think that's I agree. That's a shame that Umbraco is not listed there, and it's interesting to see it from the perspective of someone who is using Umbraco. That why the hell is not there, right? It's like yeah.
The other thing we're lacking right now for the V12 stuff, my understanding is it doesn't. So Hardcore has a bunch of like SDKs you can use to connect to Hardcore from JavaScript, from Node, from like Swift, those sorts of things. We need that really. It would be fantastic if those worked with the V12 headless setup as well. So maybe at some point when the Hardcore API adopts the new REST API, maybe those SDKs will get updated. Maybe they could be used, but I'd love to see official support for that, because it makes getting those people like started up and running with Umbraco so much easier, so much quicker, that they don't have to worry. And it becomes a natural process of going, okay, I'm going to self-host Umbraco, and then I can migrate my app to Hardcore, and I don't have to change a single thing. The the SDKs are all still the same thing. Would be awesome. Would be awesome. I can dream.
Yeah, but that's a good dream to have. Cool. So we'll see, and we'll definitely follow. Yeah, thanks, Sharon, for sharing how a Sidecore platform looks in combination of this kind of stuff from Umbraco. We'll see more, I'm sure, about it. Another blog author who is making a lot of great articles recently is sharing a new story. It's Corny, who started a new job a while ago for the very big and well-known multi-awarded package we call New Marketing Suite. And Corny shared what he has learned in 30 days in the shoes of Umbraco package developer. Anything surprised you, Callum, from this learning path?
No, I did see Corny talking about multi-targeting being an interesting challenge he'd faced when getting familiar with the new marketing suite code base. I mean, it's not something that we would ever have to really do on a day-to-day basis in our client project. So it's a very different way of thinking about your system, having to abstract bits away. I'd love to actually know a lot more from Corny about his findings.
But at the same time, it's interesting from my perspective to be still a kind of Umbraco developer, but from the product perspective. So, and I imagine, a marketing suite is a big product itself already. So it's a team gathered behind the product development, but within the Umbraco landscape. And then from what Corny wrote here, what surprised me and made me feel happy for his journey now is like he's still working with the people from Umbraco HQ and inspired from the community activities, but by building the product, which is a little bit different work than building websites for clients. So that's yeah, we will keep an eye on the journey, and I'm sure Corny will share a lot of new findings over the way.
Indeed.
Two more things to mention. One is Paul Seal's new video on how to create and deploy an Umbraco 12 website in Umbraco Cloud, with the example of his clean starter kit and the whole process of deploying it, solving some issues, and ending up with the working solution. So really nice video from Paul. And the last but not least on the agenda is the podcast episode about building sustainability into the web presence, where Philip joined and host there and shared his and all the Umbraco's efforts to include sustainability in the tech landscape. And yeah, that's all from our list of
everything.
Discussions. That's a lot. Of course, if we missed anything, as usually, we could. So let us know, and we will definitely highlight it on the next episodes. And Callum, you have a holiday now ahead of you.
Yeah, kind of a holiday. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's gonna be nice just getting away for a few weeks. In fact, this starts. Today starts 6 weeks of being away in various forms. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
We will catch you over the way in the various places, and there will be plenty. When we can catch you, we'll catch you. But when we can't,
I'll try and do umbraCoffee next. We'll see. You'll just all have to get very jealous. Might be by a pool, be sunny, enjoying myself, cocktail in hand, maybe. We'll see. It's a bit early for a cocktail.
It's interesting because the summer is completely over here, and it's raining
here as well.
So yeah, definitely do enjoy, and yeah, as usual, we'll catch up whenever we can. And people, keep us busy. Let us know if you want to share something cool in the umbraCoffee channel. Help us grow our subscriber base before the episode 300, which is not that far away in time now. And yeah, do enjoy the rest of your day, the weekend ahead, and see you next Friday.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Callum. Bye, people.